as a former baseball president who has dealt with players who needed translators, and obviously the Shohei Ohtani story takes this to an entirely new level. I saw you tweeted yesterday that you thought this press conference accomplished absolutely nothing, in your opinion. You know, people like Perloff thought Ohtani came off really well, came off genuine. Why did you say, and why do you think it accomplished nothing?
Well, first of all, I have no understanding how any advisor would have allowed him to say anything publicly, given that they're pending investigations. But if I can get past that absolute bad advice, let's talk about what he said. He simply put a face to what had been leaked out and the story that had been told ever since the interpreter started with the story that Ohtani was involved, recanted it, got disavowed, and then they've stuck with this current story ever since. So all he did was reiterate what we've already known, but he didn't take questions. He didn't allow cameras. So I really don't want anyone to call it a press conference. It was merely a well-attended statement reading.
But David, couldn't you argue that at least Shohei put himself out there? Now, if he's lying, he's sort of given himself the rope to hang himself. Now we know this is his story. Now it's up to investigators and reporters to prove it wrong. So it seems a little more black and white to me.
Well, when you've got a story that you want to stick to, I appreciate that you think that that's your story and you should always stick to it. And we tell people all the time, okay, if you want to say that. But the problem is it's not just MLB investigating. You've got the IRS. There's an entire gambling ring that is being looked at, and money disappeared. And the biggest question that we needed answered is, how does the interpreter have access to your bank account? I've worked with Japanese players. I've worked with Hispanic players. I've worked with white players and black players. You can hear anything you want about how players have so much money that they don't know where their money is, and they rely on all of their friends and family to take care of their money. But $4.5 million missing from bank transfers. It's not like this is a cash business. You've got banks involved. You've got authentication requirements for ID. All of these steps that get taken when I wire $100. Somehow these wires went through and he knew nothing about it. It's just shocking. I certainly do hope it's true, though.
So David Samson joining us, the former president of the Marlins. So you think that even though you've probably witnessed players who have been stolen from either by family members or financial advisors, and you've seen this firsthand, you still think this is hard to believe that Shohei wouldn't have known anything?
Well, when I say that I've seen all players, I can tell you I had players who didn't know whether they had deposited their paycheck before there was direct deposit. So I understand that some players may not know where their money is or know what the balance is in their checking account. But at the end of the day, when there's $500,000 wires coming out of your account, I'm not sure that anybody who's not a signatory on an account can do that. And my point is, Ohtani didn't address any of that. He merely stuck to his story. I didn't bet on baseball. I didn't bet on anything. And this man stole from me. And it's not like he stole cash from under the mattress. The matter in which he stole was in getting wire transfers to an illegal bookmaker. And in this day and age, banks are not just willy-nilly doing wire transfers. But all of this is going to come out. He's put himself in a position where now he better be right about everything he said.
So it's interesting. Ohtani's camp obviously let this quote-unquote press conference happen. What about the Dodgers' role in this? Can the Dodgers jump in and say, just stop talking?
That's what I would have done. People ask me as president of the Marlins, I can tell you I would not have done this with a Dodgers background, with their sponsors in the background of their press conference room. And I love that they showed support and they made it known that Stan Kasten was there and Andrew Friedman was there. And you had players, Joe Kelly was there and Kike Hernandez supporting him. And I get when we want to support our players and be a team. I've had press conferences like this, but there's certain times, especially for me when gambling is concerned, that I'm not rolling out the red carpet for this sort of announcement when I know MLB is investigating. On the other hand, he's the face of baseball. There is nobody in baseball who should be or wants to be protected or needs to be protected more than Shohei. So I'm not the only one who wishes that this whole story is true. The Dodgers, MLB, his teammates, the union, everybody hopes that what he said yesterday was true.
David Samson is joining us. He's the former president of the Marlins. He hosts a podcast called Nothing Personal. It's going out on the road. Nothing Personal Live. The live tour is going to be happening soon, and you can find information for that on David's Twitter handle, David P. Samson. Okay, let's talk more about the Dodgers for a second, David, because I thought they ended up looking bad yesterday because Shohei gave us a little more of the TikTok of what happened in South Korea. So you've got ESPN and the LA Times are both now sniffing around a story that has to do with Shohei Ohtani and a betting ring in Southern California. Nobody went to Ohtani. All that Dodger brass was all in South Korea. You don't have anyone else. No one could approach Ohtani and tell him, hey, we've got two major news outlets that are coming and asking questions. They still let Ippei be the point person here. I mean, you were the president of a franchise. Do you think the Dodgers look bad, or am I crazy?
Oh, no, you're not crazy at all. You're brilliant. When I'm dealing with players, let's go to something as benign as arbitration. When we're making offers back and forth to younger players, we're dealing with the agent, but we always make sure the player knows what our offer is. When we're trying to sign a free agent, we talk to the agent, but we make sure the player knows that we're interested in what we're offering. We don't leave anything up to anybody. The Dodgers have this major problem coming while they're in Korea, and Ohtani's claiming he knew nothing about it till he got back to the hotel after the team meeting because Ippei was speaking only in English and he couldn't fully understand the scope. The timeline concerns me because the night before, ESPN had word from the interpreter that Ohtani was completely involved, and then his story got recanted and he got totally disavowed by the Dodgers and MLB, trying to be disappeared. We haven't heard a word from him. So I just find that difficult that the Dodgers would have sat back and said, all right, let's not talk to Shohei. We'll only deal with the interpreter. I've just never done that in my 18 years in the game.
You know, not to make an excuse, but they were in Korea. There was a lot going on. The season's about to start. I was arguing with Maggie about this. I don't know that it was that easy for the Dodgers to understand the scope of what was happening. Is it possible that a lot fell through the cracks here?
Boy, that'd have to be a Grand Canyon size crack. Mm-hmm. When you hear your best player and then you hear the word gambling and $4.5 million missing, and the LA Times is coming out with a piece that they had been investigating, and ESPN had a 90-minute interview with the translator that was set up by Ohtani's spokesman himself, I find it hard to believe that nobody knew anything. And in terms of how busy they were, I only say give me a break, and that I've been super busy running a team, but I always have time to deal with a crisis because certain things, when they come on your desk or in your ear, they go right to the top of the list. And this would have gone directly to the top of the list.
David Samson is joining us, the former president of the Marlins, the host of Nothing Personal. What other questions do you still have, David, after the press conference? Say you're the Dodgers, and you're sitting in the room. Like, what's the next steps? What questions do you still have? And how would you like them to be answered, I guess?
I'd love to know from MLB how long they think their investigation is going to last, how long the cloud will be over the franchise, because like with Trevor Bauer, and this happened with the Dodgers, they put Bauer on administrative leave, and that was the end of him. They took his jerseys out of the team store, and they just pretended he didn't exist. And then it went on and on and on, and it didn't matter. They kept pretending he didn't exist. Ohtani's batting second every single day. There are scores of Japanese reporters following him and the team every day. This is the type of story that you cannot get rid of. It continues to come up. So I'd want to know from MLB, what's your timing? MLB would like to get their investigation done today, but they simply can't. There's too much to figure out.
David, just pulling back a little bit, we have an NBA possible betting scandal last night was reported. Where are we in the state of betting being connected to pro sports right now?
And I'm associated and proudly with DraftKings, but I'll tell you right now, we're in a state of panic. And the reason we're in a state of panic is that anytime you have an issue with the integrity of the sport, whether it's with referees, whether it's with players or known associates of players, you're getting down to the core issue of associating with gambling companies that leagues had to get past in order to do business with them. And the core issue is we are not wrestling. This is not a scripted game. We don't know the outcome. We don't do anything to tell anyone what the outcome could be. There's no risk. And now, more and more, every day, we hear things where players are concerned or they're involved. This NBA story, and I'm going to discuss it today on Nothing Personal in greater detail, but just think about this. If he knows that people are betting the under on his prop bets, and he then makes sure that every one of those prop bets wins, and he benefits from that, either directly or indirectly, that's a major betting scandal. That's suspension, if not lifetime. So that story in the NBA is a very important story that we're just starting to understand.
David Samson joining us. David, we only have about 45 seconds left, so just back to Shohei for a moment. So the translator now is going to be someone from the Dodgers, right? So my question is, moving forward, can Shohei say, I want somebody new. I want a UN level interpreter here. I need somebody who's like doing head of state type stuff so nothing like this ever happens again.
Yeah, of course he can. When we signed Ichiro, he told us who his translator was, and we hired him, period. Didn't even do a background check. Didn't need to. It turns out Alan's an amazing guy who I would trust with anything. But Shohei has the right to tell the Dodgers, listen, I don't like this person. I'd like someone different, because you do have to be friends with your translator. You're with them all the time.